A frail black man shivered on a city corner, his tattered coat barely shielding him from the biting wind. Once he had nothing but dreams and a son he loved. But one night a single encounter shattered his world, exposing a cruel truth that wealth couldn't hide. His eyes, heavy with grief, held a secret too painful to speak. What drove this beggar to millions only to mourn in silence? This is a story of loss, injustice, and a truth that demands to be heard. Can one man's pain change how we see the world? Watch to uncover the tragedy that changed everything. The city hummed with its usual chaos, but Marcus Tate moved through it like a shadow, unnoticed. A black man in his late 40s. He carried the weight of a life scraped together from grit and hope. Each morning he rose before dawn, his calloused hands sorting through trash for scraps to sell. His tattered coat a badge of survival. His small corner by the downtown bridge was his world, where he'd smile at passers-by, though most looked away. Once Marcus had been a mechanic, fixing cars with a steady hand, dreaming of a better life for his son, Jamal. They'd spend evenings sketching cars together, laughing over shared dreams of owning a shop someday. Jamal, with his bright eyes and quick wit, was Marcus's anchor, his reason to keep going despite the hunger gnawing at his gut. The city didn't care about Marcus's past, though. To most, he was just another beggar, invisible unless he was in the way. But Marcus held on to pride. He'd nod politely to the shopkeepers who shooed him off, his voice soft but steady. He never begged loudly, never demanded. His life was small, but it was his. Still, the streets had their own rules. Whispers of trouble followed him, glares from strangers, the occasional shout to move along. He brushed it off, thinking resilience would shield him. What he didn't see was the storm brewing just beyond his corner. One night, a single moment would unravel everything he'd fought to hold together. A truth buried in the city's shadows was about to surface, and it would cost him more than he could imagine. What could strip a man of his dreams and leave him mourning in silence? The city's pulse quickened as dusk settled over Marcus Tate's corner. His cardboard sign, scrawled with "Anything helps," leaned against the bridge's cold concrete. Most evenings, Marcus endured the usual. Hurried footsteps, averted eyes, the occasional coin tossed his way. But tonight felt different. A chill hung in the air, sharper than the usual bite of autumn. He tucked his hands deeper into his frayed pockets, his breath visible under the dim streetlight. Across the street, a sleek black SUV idled too long, its tinted windows reflecting the neon glow of a pawnshop. Marcus didn't notice at first. His thoughts on Jamal, his son's laughter, now just a memory that stung more than it soothed. Then came the shouts. "You there, move it!" Two men in crisp security uniforms stepped out of the SUV. Their boots heavy on the pavement, Marcus stiffened. He'd seen their kind before. Hired muscle for the upscale shops nearby, quick to chase off anyone who didn't belong. He raised his hands, voice calm but trembling. "Just packing up, sirs?" The taller man sneered, his flashlight beam cutting across Marcus's face. "You don't belong here, beggar. People like you scare customers." The words hit like a slap, but it was the phrase, "people like you," that burned. Marcus's jaw tightened. He wanted to speak, to say he was just a man trying to survive, but the second man stepped closer, hand on a baton. "Move or we make you." Marcus gathered his belongings, a torn blanket, a cracked thermos, his heart pounding. The street, usually alive with chatter, felt eerily silent, as if the city held its breath. He shuffled toward the alley, but the men followed, their steps deliberate, predatory. A crowd gathered nearby, phones out, recording but not intervening. Marcus's chest tightened. He'd faced scorn before, but this was different. Calculated, personal. The taller man muttered something under his breath, a racial slur that sliced through the air. Marcus froze, his fists clenching. He thought of Jamal, how he'd promised his son he'd stay strong no matter what. But the memory of Jamal's face twisted into something darker. Secret Marcus carried like a stone in his gut. Then a scream shattered the tension. Not Marcus's, but a woman's from the crowd. "Leave him alone," she cried, her voice sharp but shaky. The guards turned, distracted but only for a moment. The taller one spun back to Marcus, eyes narrowing. "You're done here," he growled, shoving Marcus hard. The force sent him stumbling into the alley's shadows, his thermos clattering across the pavement. Pain shot through his shoulder, but it was the humiliation that cut deeper. He scrambled to his feet, heart racing as the men advanced. What had he done to deserve this? Nothing except exist in a world that saw his skin before his soul. The alley's darkness swallowed him, but the danger wasn't over. A glint of metal caught his eye. One of the men had unclipped his baton. Marcus's breath hitched. He could run, but to where? The city had no safe corners for a man like him. And then a sound, a low guttural sob, escaped his lips. It wasn't just fear, it was Jamal, the secret of his son's fate. buried deep, was clawing its way out. What happened to Jamal that night months ago, under these same unforgiving streets? And why was Marcus, now a millionaire in hiding, still running from the truth? Marcus's back pressed against the alley's damp wall, the cold seeping through his tattered coat. The security guards loomed closer, their faces twisted with contempt. The taller one raised his baton, its metal glinting under a flickering streetlight. "You don't belong here," he spat, the racial slur from earlier still burning in Marcus's ears. His knees trembled, not from fear of the blow, but from the weight of a truth he'd buried for months. Jamal's face flashed before him, his son. Gone. Taken by a night not unlike this one. Marcus's chest heaved, a sob breaking free. "You don't know me," he whispered, voice cracking. The baton swung down, but Marcus ducked, stumbling into a pile of crates. Wood splintered, and the crowd gasped, their phones still recording, capturing every second of his humiliation. The second guard lunged, grabbing Marcus's arm, twisting it until pain shot through his shoulder. "Stop resisting," he bellowed, though Marcus hadn't fought back. The lie stung worse than the grip. This wasn't just about a corner or a beggar. It was about a system that saw Marcus's black skin and decided his worth before he could speak. In that moment, he saw Jamal again, his son, beaten and left in an alley just like this. His dreams snuffed out by men who looked like these guards. Marcus's eyes burned with tears, but something snapped inside him. "My son," he roared, the words tearing from his throat. The guards froze, startled by his sudden defiance. "You took him. This city took him." His voice echoed raw and unyielding, silencing the murmurs of the crowd. The taller guard hesitated, baton lowering, but the damage was done. Marcus's secret, the truth of Jamal's death, a racist attack covered up by a city that didn't care, was no longer buried. It was alive, spilling out in his ragged breaths. Would this moment break him completely, or force the world to finally listen? Marcus collapsed against the alley wall, his breath ragged, the guard's footsteps fading as the crowd's murmurs grew louder. The baton never struck again. Someone in the crowd, a young woman with a phone, had live-streamed the confrontation, her voice shaking as she called out the guard's brutality. The video spread, a spark in the city's underbelly. By morning, Marcus's face was everywhere, shared, retweeted, a symbol of a truth too long ignored. He wasn't just a beggar anymore. He was a father, a man, a mirror to a city's shame. The guards were suspended, but Marcus knew justice was fleeting. His wealth, hidden from years of quiet investments after Jamal's death, couldn't buy back his son or erase the scars of that night. Yet something shifted. The video forced conversations, in barbershops, on X, in homes where people like Marcus were often invisible. He used his money to open a community center in Jamal's name, a place for kids to dream beyond the streets that had taken his son. But the pain lingered. Every time Marcus walked past that alley, he saw Jamal's face, heard his laugh, felt the weight of a world that judged skin before soul. His story wasn't just his, it was a cry for millions, silenced by the same hate. This wasn't the end of injustice, but a crack in its armor. Would it be enough? Marcus's truth demands we look closer. Racism isn't just a headline. It's in the glares, the slurs, the systems that crush dreams. His story asks, how many more must suffer before we change? Share this. Talk about it. Let Marcus's pain be the spark that wakes us up. If you've ever faced a moment that changed how you see someone you love, share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful tales that touch the heart. Thank you for being here.